Jive Hive Jeff from 2 Hacks Garage. Well, as you can see, the heads are on. We've already measured for the valve spring height. All that is on. The heads are on. They're torqued down. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually measure for push rod length. I do have all the new lifters and all that stuff in. I got new guide plates. They're designed for the 3/8 push rods. But right now what we want to do is we want to measure for the proper push rod length. Jimmy's going to kind of walk through that exercise with us, show us what we need to do to be able to achieve that. So right now what he's doing is he's lubing up the lifters to throw those in there. And from this original engine, we do have stock length push rods. However, there's some other methods to do it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to start measuring to get push rods in this 521 cubic inch big block Ford. From there, you know what, guys, it'll be, knock on wood, the easy part of putting an intake manifold on, getting the water pump on, the serpentine kit, and all that stuff. Still waiting on my headers, a couple other items, but you know what? Let's go ahead and get started on this, and let's see how this goes. We'll see you in a few. So what we do is we have things set up here now. What we did was Jimmy's got this really cool tool. It's an adjustable length push rod. We went ahead and did as you saw, we put the guide plates on, got those torqued down, and we're using one of our roller rockers. So from here, I'll let him explain what he's got going on.
Okay, what we do, you have to make sure the heel of the cam, it's on the bottom of the heel of the cam, the bottom side, not the bump side. Put the lifter in the hole, run the push rod together where it screws together, put the rocker arm on it, slowly screw this out. Unless you have the actual push rod length gauge, which I do not have one for Ford, you can do it this way. Put the rocker arm, unscrew the push rod with the rocker arm nut loose until you see the wheel of the rocker arm where it touches the top of the valve. It's in the middle of the valve where the wheel, the crown of the wheel touches the middle of the valve.
I'll get a close-up of that as we do that.
And that is with the lifter all the way in the down position on the heel of the cam. Then you roll the engine over.
I can do that real quick.
Yeah, Jeff's going to roll the engine over.
Okay, so if you
just roll it over to where, just keep going. You got a ways to go. You'll see it move. Because it's got to make a full cycle. There, it's starting to move up now. Keep going. And what you do is you put your finger on it, old school, keep going. There, it's at the top. And that way, you don't let the heel of the lifter start and coming back down. You make sure it's on the top of the cam. You can actually look through the hole in the valley on a Ford, and you can see that it's at the top of the cam. You may not be able to see it with that angle, but you can see it.
Actually, you can see it right in there. So the top of the camshaft lobe is hitting that lifter right in there. So we know we're at the top, right?
We know we're at the top. We also, good time to check coil bind if you want. The camshaft, I knew in this engine was not going to have a problem with coil bind because this is a street cam, not an all-out race engine. So we have plenty of room between the coils, so we're not going to have coil bind. And then you look at where the wheel on the rocker arm is on the tip of the valve, and it's still pretty much in the middle of the valve. That way you're not pushing the valve stem one way or the other as the valve is going open and down. It's open and close. It's pushing the valve straight up, straight down.
So what he's referring to here is if you look at right here, that roller here, you want to the center of the actual valve stem.
Right. And
So
that's
it's
with the
even
valve
pressure.
open or the valve closed. It moves very little.
Yep.
Because everything moves. This pivots and this pivots. Okay, we'll pull it apart, do the next one. But after, we got to measure this push rod first.
So as you can see what Jimmy did there, it's actually a good old school method of doing this. He's got the adjustable push rod in there. We had it at the bottom of the cam, put it in there, got it set up. And then when we first noticed it, you know, this wasn't sitting here, and you just start turning that out. And what that's going to do is going to turn this in here and center it more on that valve stem. So we did roll it over both ways, bottom and top of the cam, and check that. So at this point now, what we're going to do is we're going to measure the length of this here. So you know what? We will go ahead and do that now.
Okay, so what we're doing, I've already locked this lock nut down. Oh, here, get it off the pressure side. Okay. Okay, I've already got the lock nut locked down here, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go put this in a vise because the thing that I really need to check this with is not readily available.
So we're going to go over in the other room real quick, and he is going to do some checking on that length.
This thing I have back here, Jeff,
Yeah.
buried.
Yeah. You want me to get it?
It's a height mic, but you set it on a milling machine table. It's 12 inches.
Ah.
This just happens to be 12 inches too. So this is just an easier way to do it because I don't want to have to go back there and dig that thing out. I haven't needed it since I've been in the new shop. So make sure the calipers are zeroed, which they are. I do not use a digital on this. Don't want a digital on this one. I want to see real numbers. So we are looking at 8,775.
Okay.
I'll write that down.
So we're going to write that number down. So on that right now is what we know, ballpark of the push rod length that we do need. Obviously, I have to check to see what's available through the manufacturers, aka I'll look at Jegs, because Rob Z is a very good guy, and he always helps me out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the next one and just watch Jimmy walk through this. Do you need the adjustable one, Jimmy? This one, Jimmy?
I don't know which one we're going to wind up using, so we'll try the shorter one. The shorter one may be too short. I don't know. I had to buy one of these for my Ford engine, but I predominantly use these for Chevy, but they're also used for big block Chevy. No, I got to use the other one, so I'll go get it.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that's kind of unique. Well, I shouldn't even say unique. But these are supposedly as cast cylinder heads, but they're not because, as you saw, the port design was different. They actually have a big block Chevy valves in them. These are a 351 guide plate. And, Cleveland guide, the Cleveland style guide plate.
But there's also maybe a big block Chevy rocker arm set. I think somebody told me they were, but I'm not for sure. Okay, roll the engine. Just let it cycle.
Are we looking for bottom of the cam?
Yeah,
Okay, so we're
coming up now.
it's going up now, but we're going to take it all the way down to get to the bottom of the camshaft. Should be right there.
Keep going. Whoa.
Okay, so right now we're on the bottom of the camshaft. And we will watch Jimmy do his magic.
Flashlight, please. Behind you. And just so nobody gets confused, you've seen the video where we adjusted the valve spring height. That has nothing to do with the valve stem height. Spring height is spring height, so it gets even pressure on every valve like the cam manufacturer says, and to keep for the RPM range too. So the strings are strong enough to keep the valves closed and don't float.
So right now he's checking the rocker arm roller tip on that to valve stem.
It's going to be the same, I can tell you right now.
It's going to be the same?
Yep, because that is in the... Well, now wait a minute. Or maybe I did back it off.
I grabbed a different one.
You have a different what? No, I got to run it out a little bit.
Okay.
They're probably going to be the same push rods, I'll bet.
So what he's doing here, he's using a flashlight to see the location of that roller versus... Let's see if I can come down
right
here a
there.
little bit. Okay, so, yeah, that's a
Right in
good
the middle
angle.
where it belongs.
So yeah, this needs to be in the middle of that. So if it's off, you can actually adjust your push rod tool that Jimmy's doing now. So now what we do is he's going to put...
And set 0 valve lash. Okay, now roll the engine over to it's on the high side of the cam. About a quarter turn. Or it's at half speed of the crank, but go for it. Right there. Oh, that's good.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Well, it's offset too. Or is that...
Well, let's back it back down.
So, what does it? Can we rotate this at all?
Maybe not, because the pushrod guide plate's got it held.
Okay, we'll move it then. Let me back this off.
Back it off. I want to check to see how long the pushrod came out, because it's probably going to be the same. The lift is about the same on the cam, isn't it?
The lift on the exhaust side was 571. And the lift on the intake was 554. Do I need to go down more?
So you're talking not even 20,000 difference.
No.
Okay. It's going to take the same. It's going to take the same size pushrods. I'm sure of that.
Okay. So Jimmy's going to go measure some length right now. But when you see when this thing was off here, now that there's a little bit of light in there, what we're talking about, this roller does need to be centered to the actual valve stem. Because if it's off, it's going to give uneven pressure. That thing needs to be driven straight down as this thing rolls in there. So what we're doing is we're just measuring this, kind of this fulcrum with it to set it center. Let me see if I can just get out of your way here. Set it center on there. So it's even pressure throughout the cycle, and it doesn't want to push the valve down at a different angle, prematurely wear, and cause failure. Jimmy's on the phone with Howard's right now. We're trying to figure out what push rods are available, but here's what I'm talking about. So this is actually loose. So you see the roller right there, and you see how it sits on the edge, and it can also go really forward. What we're doing with that push rod is we're making this, at an angle. We're adjusting that push rod at those two lengths that we showed you at the bottom and top of the cam. So we want it pretty much center like that. So that's what we're adjusting for push rod length. So when our roller tip on the valve stem is push center. We do that on the top and the bottom of the cam. That way we know where we're going to be sitting. And then we take out that adjustable push rod and we measure it. So yeah, that's what we got going on right now. And we are diligently working away. Seen a few. All right. Well, I'm back. Jimmy's on the phone right now with a couple different manufacturers. What we're trying to do is find the proper push rod lengths. What we got going on right now is two different push rod lengths that we have in here, and what that's causing us is, you know, a lot of that's just not standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run you through this exercise again. And the first step is I'm going to do is I'm going to run the cam down to the bottom of the lobe. So right now it's on top side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it all the way down to the bottom. And basically what I'm doing is I'm looking through the oil galley and just seeing where it hits at the bottom there. Okay, so now I know it's at the bottom. And the first step of this is I am going to put this push rod in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to run this out just a little bit. And I'm going to put it in there. Now this is a canted valve style. I'm going to take my rocker, and this roller rocker here, it does have a rounded side and a flat side. The rounded side here goes towards the bottom of this because it is also rounded. So I'm going to go ahead and set that on there, and I'm going to go ahead and just thread this on loose, kind of at what zero lash, so it's not really pushing, it's just snug. And what I'm going to try to do is center it now on this valve. So as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and run this up. And basically I'm just pushing that up in there right now to hit where it would normally hit. So right now you see that snug. Okay. Now the problem is what we're running into. Let me get a little bit in here. Okay, so this is probably a good view of what you can expect to see. Okay, now, you see where the roller's sitting right there? That's not good. You want this roller center of that valve. So basically to rectify that, you can back that off because you want to get it pushed to the top. You want to start rotating that roller to the center. And as you can see, it's quite a bit. Just about there. Okay, one second. Okay, so I need to go just a little bit more. It's a little bit too much. Probably right in that area. So now what I'm going to do is continue to turn this up. Basically this push rod, it is adjustable, and I'm just cranking it down. It's threaded. I'll show you here in a minute. And I'm going to crank that in to where I feel comfortable with that. And I have two of these push rods that are adjustable, and I think I got the wrong one. So let me check something here real quick. There's a short one and a long one. I'm going to set this aside for right now, and I'm going to take a look at something real quick. All right, so I got the longer push rod checker. Like I said, there's two of them in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this one back in and start doing my readjustment. As you saw how far it was off on that. So I'm just going to run that down to zero lash, and I'm going to look. So right now, it's actually not looking too bad. I can go forward with it just a little bit more. Okay, so that's centered right now with that roller tip. So now what you would do is you make sure it's centered actually on the valve each way, and lock that down just a little bit, and you're going to spin this nut here and lock that into place. So now I'm going to go up to the top side of the camshaft, cycle it over. What you'll see that valve go, start moving, and I am getting close, and right there. So right there, I'm looking for the same deal to see if I'm still centered, and I look to be pretty good. If it was off a little bit way, you would adjust this again, go back and readjust. So right there, I know that I'm centered. So to get the pressure off that, I'm going to cycle it back down to the bottom of the cam. So right now I'm at the bottom of the cam. So from here, what you do is you just back that off, take your rocker off, and from there, you would pull your push rod out, and we'll go in the other room and I'll measure it out. All right, so I'm back, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the push rod length, the adjustable one, and we're just going to put it in this vise like this just to hold it still, and zero it out. I'm going to take this all the way out. I'm going to get a nice square measurement in here. And that's how you get your length. So I'm basically sitting at the 8/700ths on that. So that's how you kind of, as a nutshell, Jimmy walked through it a couple times. Just wanted to show one more little tutorial on it, and that's how you measure that out. I'll be right back. Okay, so we made a few phone calls. Howard's did hook us up with the 8/700 3/8 ones that we needed. We got those ordered. Actually, a very reasonable price, very great customer service. I've had nothing but great customer service with Howard's, and I really appreciate them helping me out all the way through this, everything I've needed from lifters to springs to my camshaft and now push rods. With that, as you saw when we did measure each side of this, we do have two different sizes of the actual push rods. Part of that is the canted valve design. We do have the extra 70 thousandths in here with those Cometic gaskets. Also, the intake exhaust side with the lift is a little bit different with the camshaft. So when you put one of these engines together, you really do want to make sure that you do measure for proper push rod length. Especially in this application, if I would have went with just stock length or the next size up they offer, it would have been wrong. You do want proper push rod length to make sure you're opening and closing those valves at not only the right rate, but also the right length. So right now, another lemons into lemonades moment, because I'm looking for the 8775 3/8 push rods. I do have my buddy Rob Z from Jegs. He's researching that for me, and also a couple other friends. So with that, we're on hold until we get those in. But the next steps that you're going to see with that is we're going to go in there and we're going to put all the push rods in. We're going to adjust all these roller rockers in place, make sure they're centered on the valves, set them at zero lash, and then, guys, we can really start assembling on the rest of this engine. So with that, lemons into lemonades. As you saw in a previous video, the Cometic gaskets ended up saving my ass on this. A little on the pricey side, pretty much the last two that we could find available anywhere. But you know what? We got it. That's a good thing. Other options that we would have had to gone with would have been very expensive for one, time-consuming, and just paths I didn't want to have to go with. So with that, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see you tomorrow, maybe next week. Who knows? See ya.